I wanted to mention that my first contact with the South Marine Club as a lawyer for the city, when we found out that the club was not admitting women. And I was the lead attorney on the team of attorneys that had to meet with the South End, the Dolphin, and the old Aerial Club, and we told them either you admit women or we'll have to evict you. And the Dolphins and the South End complied, and the admission of women to this club has transformed the club. It's just it was a great place before, but it's got more dynamism and more energy than I've ever seen before. Second thing I like to mention is that I started in '78 after we had gone through the admissions problems. And Bob Roper, who was here tonight, and Danny Macarini were among the early sunriser swimmers. And in those days, we didn't bother with pilots. And so one December morning in 1987, we went down to the marina and arrived at the dowsing stations, a little set of slippery stairs we called Stairway to the Stars. And we put in there that morning, and we'd been a lot of haggling about what we were going to do, and we were late, and it had been raining the night before. It was about 50 degrees in the water, and it was kind of rough, and I'm a slow swimmer. We all got in the water, and I noticed I was creeping along pretty slow, and I thought of getting out at Gas House Cove, but then I realized we had a pilot who had set off in a kayak, and I didn't know that she turned back at the cove because she almost got flipped over at the cove. So here I was swimming along, and I got to the mouth, and I've never felt the fatigue I felt then. And I made it about halfway across the cove before I blacked out, and I was pulled out of the water, taken to the hospital. First taken to the Dolphin Club, then to the hospital. And when I opened my eyes, the first person I saw was Dianne Feinstein. So it was quite an experience. So I wrote this poem about the experience, and also about the guy who saved my life, who used to be a member of the club. He now lives down in Santa Cruz, Bill Horgos.
Oh yeah, Bill!
Great guy. That's right. That no sniveling sign is his, and there's quite a few carvings up in the men's locker room that he did. On a cold December morning that winter holds at bay, the wind-borne rain that's driving, the swimmers come to play. They anticipate the challenge of their elemental game to fight the chilling water, to make it once again. And though cavort and frolic are the theme of each foray, we know that she can be evil, our enigmatic bay. In the darkness of the pre-dawn, in the din of solstice gloom, the waters are cold and turgid, the clouds block out the moon. We slip into the water and feel its chill embrace. We search for land's outcroppings as waves break in our face. And now we face our mother, the source of all our glee, the place where all are equals, where words speak not for deeds. The cold is all around us, it penetrates our soul, and thus we toil oblivious to our body's warning code. The child is ever present in this cold December air, and so we did not listen to the warning that was there. The hope is for a current, a gentle flooding tide, that will give to all the swimmers an oceanic ride. Instead, our bay betrays us, and weather plays its tricks. We find we move so slowly as the clock beats out its ticks. Time is now the barrier, as coldness takes its toll. We have precious fleeting moments to make it to the cove. The bets are on the table. The dice gleam black and white as the legendary Reaper begins his deadly swipe. And now he faced the moment. He was up against the wall. The water was relentless. It was lapping at his craw. His legs had lost their power. He could hardly move his arms. And for just one fleeting moment, he thought he'd lost the farm. Though cold had numbed his reason, and he rounded Muni Pier, he knew the tide was ebbing, and his chances were not clear. He had no glimpse of history, nor his past life in parade. He had one single vision of the shore that must be made. And so he kept on struggling as his body cooled down. He reached a slimy mooring to rest and look around. He saw another rest point through the early morning mist. He lunged and swam to reach it, and he grabbed it with his fist. And now his memory fails him. There is nothing he recalls, not the hope to keep on living, or the words to end this clause. And now his fate had cast him, adrift and floating free, upon his treasured waters in his mother's boundless sea. It is time for a decision, to be or not to be. His will is for survival. It pleads for his reprieve. So those who sit in judgment over human destiny look down with kindly favor as they heard his timeless plea. His spirit took the rostrum to plead his final cause, to evoke a striking image, to make the judges pause. And with judicious temper, they heard a cogent case. This life must not be wasted. They should bestow their grace. And wisdom and compassion and a touch of irony, they hold this floating spirit should not be left too free. Thus it was decided he would not call his number the gift of life he would enjoy to see another summer. And at his next perception he is in the womb again, a heat that's all embracing, a warmth beneath the skin. Soon he starts to wonder at how it came to be that he rests in gentle slumber instead of floating in the sea. It appears there is a giant, a dolphin of some fame, an irreverent local artist. Bill Horgos is his name. And then there is a woman, a biologist at her job. She loves to swim bay waters. Her name is Susan Cobb. On this fateful morning, they come to swim the bay. Bill does his double cove, but she coaxes him to stay. And on their second round trip, as they approach the floating flag, it is Susan who first sees him, afloat, but listing bad. Bill comes to the rescue. He pulls him to the land. Susan sprints back to the club to get a helping hand. Now life takes on new meaning for this man whom fate has spared. The trilling finch rings clearer. The sunrise does not glare. A face of human failing in the throes of catastrophe, the joy of life revisited, the rush of victory. All these have dimensions. They have contours seldom seen, but to this reborn spirit, it is mystery what they mean. There can be no denying to whom he owes each day, to Susan's salty yearnings, to Bill's eccentric play. So here I am.
Thanks a lot, Bob.